Hey, welcome to our Victory at Home interviews. We're so excited that you've joined us for one of these, and we'd encourage you to check them all out. And we're trusting that as you watch this and learn from our guests, that there will be at least one nugget of gold that is super helpful and impactful for you and your home to help you thrive. All right, everybody, welcome to Victory at Home. Today we are doing actually a second interview with Jessika Kopp and Kelly Boisclair. We chatted with you guys a little bit about having victory at home and kind of generally about home life and your friendship and all kinds of fun topics. I want to dive into parenting in particular. So your kids are, let's just go from the youngest to the oldest, are between the ages of what?
3 and 11.
Okay, so we got 3-year-old to 11-year-old. Parenting, advice, help. I don't know any parent who doesn't sort of say, help me out, give me some kind of advice. So what are some of the lessons along the way that you guys have learned?
My cup needs to be filled in order that I can fill my children and be a good, I don't think good's a good word here, but a mom who can...
Sure, a healthy, helpful
mom. Yeah, I think that's been a very key lesson.
Your cup needs to be filled.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the flip side of that, you need to be careful about being too drained.
Exactly, yeah. So worn out, tired, overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that pile up when you're doing this parenting gig.
And so when those negative things happen, then your capacity as a mom goes.
Right, yeah. So I will try to, if my kid comes to me with a tragedy and I'm already empty, well, I'm just going to freak out and be like, that's your problem, you deal with it. My cup is not full. I become, That my,
I don't care that your Barbie's dressed as a bitch.
Right. So we're not the best version of ourselves when our cup is empty. And the reality is parenting is from ourself, right? Like we parent out of who we are, where we're at. So get healthy. So what kind of things should we do? Moms do, dads do, I guess. But what should we do to be healthy?
Find people who, when you look at their family, you're like, I want what you have, and learn every single thing. So you can ask the questions over and over and over again,
and adapt it to how your family flows.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah.
So you watch what they do. Ask questions, learn from them, and then take those home and figure out how that's going to look for you. It's going to look different, but it's you're still learning some of the same principles.
Yeah, and just all of it, just take it all in and search through it later. But just as much wisdom as you can glean from people.
Yep, that's fun.
Yeah, I find that I have to have my alone time, and so recently, maybe within the last 5 years, I've had to be disciplined in reading my Bible and do my devotional and a workout before my kids get up. So I'm taking care of my physical health, taking care of my spiritual health, my mental health through that. And, it's been really refreshing, but I find if I'm caught off guard, and I've had to learn, if they interrupted that time, I have to have a lot of grace because it's parenting.
Right.
They're going to come up and interrupt that time, but I have to make sure that I'm making sure that...
Yeah, so you remain flexible, but at the same time you're making sure there's a place to fill your cup and to stay healthy and stay refreshed. Yeah. The best gift we give our families, our church, our ministry, or whatever it is we do, is a healthy self, right? Yeah. So that's the foundation for the other things that we give.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found a really cool thing. Oh, do you want to go? We learned it from another family. We loved it. There's so many things we've learned, but recently it's this family, they do a family calendar for the year together as a family, and they plan, like, what is their motto that year? What is something they all want to do? What do they want to learn? What do they want to eat this year? Like, there's fun, cool things, and you do it as a family. And then as parents, we'll weed out the things that are like, okay, that's not okay. But like Dave and I go into it with like the same, not strategy, but the same idea and the same.
Right.
We're like, okay,
on the same page.
Same page, yeah. This is what we're gonna do. We're narrowed it down, and we've only done that once. We've been parenting for 8-9 years, and we're like, that is such a good idea. Like, involve your kids and have a family motto, I guess, would be something.
Yeah, and we have a family motto too, but ours is more of we siphon everything through it. So it's like, does this meet what our family values?
So what's your family motto?
Love God, love others, be kind, and set an example.
Love God, love others,
be kind,
and set an example.
She's so good at this stuff. Like, I am always amazed. You find the thing, like
things.
You are amazing.
But we do it.
Yeah.
We do it all the time, and so it's like when my kids are not listening, it's like, was that kind? Was that respectful to other people? Was that respectful to God? And did you set an example in that? No.
Yeah.
Well, then what do we need to do? Like, how do we make this right? Yeah. So it's like, I feel like that's been a huge thing because there's so many things that you can focus on in parenting. It's like, they need to be doing this and they need to be doing this. And it's like, our kids can't do everything. So it's like, we needed to draw them back into this one little thing. It's like, as long as we focus on this, then other things will follow. So I was like, so that's been
That's fun. Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, that'll show up in various ways in different homes, and it might not sound or be packaged exactly that. Do you guys have a family motto?
We use the verse that's for me, my house will serve the Lord.
Oh, yeah,
but then and this is something your family has done, is like, we're Goddards. What do Goddards do? I think I've heard you and your wife talk about that. And so we're like, we're Boisclairs. Now, what do Boisclairs do? And we use that verse. It's like, are we serving the Lord through this situation? Are we honoring the Lord with this situation? And so, man, I loved asking my 3-year-old in a fit, like when she's finally out of that fit. Like, so we're Boisclairs, and as a Boisclair, do you think that's what we do?
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't think
it's
so.
the best when they're like, hey mom, are you being kind?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and
like,
we call them from them.
Yeah.
That is like,
Totally.
Yeah.
They are people too, and in the Bible it says love your neighbor, right? And my children are my neighbors, and so like learning to be humble and apologize in certain situations to my children has been
Oh, that's fun.
yeah.
So as for me and my house, one of the neat things about that, we will serve the Lord. That's a Joshua 24, maybe somewhere around there. It allows you to differentiate. So it allows you to say, in fact, and you said that next. You said, well, as Boisclairs, what do we do? Because it's as for me and my house, right? This is what we're going to do. And maybe our neighbors don't, and that's okay. We love them. They're still our neighbors. Maybe some of our family, extended family doesn't. That's okay. That's who they are. But this is who we are, and this is how we run our world. And so I think it's differentiation is a really important piece for children to develop and learn, right? So healthy. Cool. Yeah. So, okay, you got a family motto. That was a good one. Our family does too, right? That was a big part of our journey. I'm trying to think. Ours is to see God smile. Oh. Yeah, I think it comes out of Psalm 4:6, but it's to see God smile. So everything we do is around those words, and then that's been since, I think before, or right around when we had our first child, 20-some years ago. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, I love picking up those truths and those things from the Bible and using those, and because it's what we're pursuing as a family and as friends. And I love that you mentioned about like we differentiate, because sometimes Jessica's kids can watch something and then I'm like, I'm not sure yet. But we have that open conversation in front of our children.
Yeah.
Oh, well, their family just doesn't do that, and maybe mom needs to look at it again. And seeing the kids hear that conversation, it's been really, it's been neat.
And that's okay. We don't have to be the same.
Exactly. Yeah, that's been really good.
Yep, that'll save you from a lot of conversations as the kids get older and be like, all my friends have a cell phone, or all my friends have this. Like, that's fine. No problem. I'm okay with you being different than all your friends. Like, kind of fun. Cool. So what are some of the other things that you've learned along the journey?
Like intentional parenting.
Okay.
I think you need to be intentional about what you do. For me, because I like to check off boxes, I need to actually plan those intentional moments. Like, we're going swimming, okay, this is how this is going to go in my head or whatever, but I need to be intentional about what I'm doing with my kids, what I'm teaching them. Like, I'm really big on habit building and character building. So it's like one thing at a time, building a habit into them and then changing it and doing, you know, something else. But it's like intentionally doing these things because this is what I want to teach my children. So intentional parenting for us has been like a game changer because it sets me in a, you know, in a direction where it's like having to pray, okay, God, what's next? Like, what's next? Where do we go? Can you show me what you'd like me to instill in my family?
And then you would try to like list those out or name those things, be like, this is what we're working on right now, or these are some of the things we're going to be doing.
Yeah. Like, so like a big one like right now in our household is you respect our house. We are in it all the time. You respect our house. So what does that look like? So like different habits we're building is we just started shadow dates with Mom, where it's like my kid shadows me cleaning the bathroom for 5 times, and on the 6th time they get to do it themselves, or something like that. It's just like little different things and little habits that we're building into, and once I see those habits become just they don't even have to think about it anymore, then we'll switch to something else. But
so, and I see you as a little bit more of a spontaneous person. So it might be
so funny because I don't think
important. Okay.
I feel like I'm much more calculated than spontaneous, but that's interesting. Tell me about that.
Well, I just think for you it might be important to be intentional.
Yes.
Like, so I think to other people might be like, well, how else would you live? You know, like we make lists and we work our way through them.
Yeah.
But then the Jessikas of the world might be like, you know what, if I don't have a list, I'm gonna just be running.
And you know what, that is true. Like, I've had ADHD my whole life, and so it's like I have to be intentional about like different things because they literally don't get done.
They won't happen.
They won't happen, right? And it's like, and I miss moments and I miss opportunities because I'm not being intentional or I'm not thinking this through. Like,
and that's what I would call the opposite of intentional parenting. I call it like parenting by accident, right? It's like, well, just what happens happens.
Yeah.
There's still some good moments in that kind of parenting, but you miss some of them, right? Because it's just, well, if it's in the moment, it's there. If it's not, it's not. Whereas if you're intentional about it, then you're gonna catch more of those.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's like a way that, like a security blanket, more so to me.
Yep.
Need to make sure that I've got my ducks in a row.
That's cool. That's cool. Got anything to add to that?
I like practical resources, so the intentional, but I think I need to pull practical tools. So whether that would be, you know, the 5 love languages of children and learning how my children love, and or 5 love languages of apologizing, the flag test and things, and good-rooted parenting. I haven't read a lot of parenting books, but you know, the 1 or 2 that I have been mostly towards like how to once again fill myself and then work on myself too. It's not so much changing your kid and how you're parenting your child, which, you know, in the end of it, I mean, we're all new at this too. We're always learning. So yeah, I like those resources and things. Podcasts, I really love listening to certain podcasts about that. And we've been to a few seminars together with a local lady from Regina. She's just been really good. Yeah, and figuring that out for us.
Yeah. Learning, I think like for us, we both worked through, and we're still working through, but just the idea of what does discipline mean in our families? What does discipline mean in our kids, and how do we do that in a way that disciples them and pushes them closer to Jesus? And I think that that's been a track we've both been on for a while, because we parent very differently, and just our personalities, is even our discipline is very different.
Very different,
yeah. And so figuring out, okay, how is discipline going to work in this home and in this context, and how is it going to happen in such a way that it forms our kids' character and hearts the way that we're hoping it will.
I think too that like just asking her, because of her, she's very sweet and her nature is just like so caring, and you're just like, Kelly. But often it's like, how do I speak to my child without crushing them? Because I'm very much a straight shooter. Let's just talk about this, and I'm like, I'm going to crush my child. Or even like in this parenting thing. And so, you know, just having that perspective where it's like, just let it go, you're okay. You know, like it's just sometimes I need that softer approach, because I'm not a naturally soft person, and she's very soft. So.
Yeah, and a big part of that is self-awareness.
Yeah.
And again, that knowing someone else can help you with that. So if you know, you're more direct and challenging, then you sort of go, okay, when are the times I need to soften that up? And if you know that you're gentle and sweet and all that, then you know, well, there's times where I need to be stronger, right? And say it strongly. And then what's interesting about that is, if you know someone else and you can observe someone else doing that, you can kind of learn how. Because if you're a gentle person and you know you need to say something strongly, sometimes when you do it, you can botch it, right? You're like, I need to say this strongly, but you just blow the way you do it, right? Or if you're a strong person and you're trying to learn to be gentle, you can sometimes botch the way you do gentleness. So having someone who's got that as a strength, and then watching them, live that out, it helps you have an example to work with, and then you personalize it, like you guys have already said.
Yeah.
That's fun, crazy. Parenting is such a wild topic.
Yeah.
So why don't we just, one more thing about parenting and then we'll finish up. But let's talk a little bit about the sense of sometimes failure or guilt or like I'm an imperfect parent. How do we handle that as parents? And how can those joining this podcast, because they're even hearing your advice and going like, I'm no good,
Like, I feel like we go a couple months and then break down.
I messed it up.
Yeah, every couple months. It's like, I did too.
Yeah. So how do we deal with that?
Chocolate.
Yeah. So much chocolate. I think it's so nice to have a spouse who you can talk to and glean from or learn from and get their perspective, because sometimes we just, as moms, just feel like we're doing it all, but there is just that strength. And I know I have people in my life who are single parenting, and they are like, they are rock stars, and I'm just like, and if I had to do this on my own, my heart just beats and beats. And so it's so nice to have someone to word vomit. I mean, that's not a great thing, to just be like, I messed up. Yep, here I am. I messed up. And then, being humble enough to recognize that too, because I don't make mistakes.
And I think to speak to those singles, right? That single dad or single mom, and the challenge of that. How much more important for them to have a friend, to have a community, to have a mentor or a parent. Often a parent helps. Or even to have God, Scripture. I mean, the father to the fatherless, right? And it's amazing how God brings in what we need in those moments, right? Grace for those gaps. So, Yep. So, anything else about dealing with failure or guilt?
I hate failure. So
what do you do if you read a book or let's go to a seminar or hear somebody talk about parenting and you're just like, that's too good?
Well, I think my natural tendency is to be like, okay, gotta read everything I can get my hands on, gotta do better, gotta pull up my socks and like, better, gotta, But I think my actual need is to stop and to be like, okay, God, like, I need to continuously give this to you, right? Like, just being like, here. And I think, like, something that I've been doing about for the last year, it's been really getting important to me, but just fighting for my kids spiritually, like, being really aware about what that looks like to fight for your kids, and that mindset change. It's like, sometimes I'm not failing, but sin is here. Still, like that like something is constantly going after my children, and it's like, okay, God, they're yours. They're yours. I trust you to do this, and just be like, sometimes the failure just is it's not even true, right? And I need to be able to notice like lies that are coming into me, and just being constantly, Spirit, talk to me, tell me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. And when I think of the fight for your kids or fight for your family, fight for your home. We're going to talk about that this Sunday. Now, this podcast won't air by then, but you can go back and look at some of the Victory at Home pieces. But I always think as a church family, as individual families, in relationships, we have to learn how to fight for instead of fight with. And, we're made to fight. And you should fight, but you should fight for, right? Fight for each other. Fight for unity, even, right? When you think of the church, I love that concept. Let's fight for unity. We're gonna fight, but instead of fighting with each other, let's fight for each other and, fight the enemy, right? And the Apostle Paul, of course, he says that, right? He says, look, we're not fighting flesh and blood, right? There's a spiritual battle going on here, and there's bigger things than each other that need to be fought against. That's a good reminder. And I think some of those guilt pieces and senses of failure can be addressed through doing that. So, yep. And nobody's perfect, right? I was just reading about parents in the Bible, and there was this list of different parents and their kids. And there was several godly parents who had wicked children, and wicked parents who had wicked children, and then there was some wicked parents who had godly children. And so, no parent is perfect. Every parent has some level of brokenness, but ultimately we entrust our children to the Lord. And then they walk their own path. Like our kids are going to make their choices and walk their path. And I think for parents, there's a sort of a dread, right? Like, ooh, did I fail them? Did I, how do I land all of that? And none of us have the perfect answers for that except to say, God, I trust you, and I'm allowing my kids to, especially as they age, of course, find and walk the path that they choose.
And I think failure in itself has been something that, like, culture has put on us in a little bit. Like, it's like, you got to change your mindset to, you're not necessarily failing, but this is an opportunity to do better. This is an opportunity to change it, because failure means that there's nowhere to go.
Right.
Right? When you failed, it's done, but it's like, this is an opportunity.
We're learning.
It's like, woo, we failed, let's do this again, let's get up, let's, try it again. And
find our way forward. And I've never met a parent who doesn't wish they couldn't go back to the last season, If I could start that over again, I would do it differently. Well, of course you would. We all would, right? But that just means you're learning. That means you're growing. That means you're making progress. And you get to make that progress and make as many changes as you can in your lifetime. And then keep on doing that generation after generation. See, we got this. Cool. Okay, well, thanks for talking parenting for a little while. Fun to talk parenting with you guys. And both your families, your sets of kids are a lot of fun. They're sure a blast to have in our lives, so we're thankful for you guys.